Picture this, a dusty command tent, maps sprawled across a table, radios crackling with bad news, and a team of Navy SEALs call sign Delta 4 trapped in a canyon so tight, it's like the earth itself is squeezing them out. Redstone Canyon. They called it, a jagged scar in the New Mexico desert, nicknamed the Viper's Jaw by locals who knew better than to wander in. The SEAL's last message was a gut punch, short and grim. We're pinned, ammo's low, enemies got the high ground, it come for us, it's over. You could feel the air get heavy in that tent, like someone had just slammed a door on hope. Officers traded glances, nobody saying what everyone was thinking: those guys were done for. Drones couldn't see through the canyon's twists, helicopters would get shredded by RPGs, and the sky? It was a kill zone, no pilot crazy enough to try it. Except one. Major Sarah Maverick Walsh didn't wait for permission. She stood in the back, arms crossed, her flight suit still smudged from tinkering with her A-10 Thunderbolter baby, the Iron Horse. She wasn't loud, didn't need to be. Her eyes were locked on the map, like she could see through the rock walls to where Delta 4 was holding on by their fingernails. When Colonel Grayson, the guy running the show, started talking about waiting for nightfall, knowing damn well it'd be too late, she cut through the noise with one word. No. Heads turned. Eyebrows went up. Grayson, all gruff and procedure, snapped. You got something to say, Major? Sarah didn't flinch. I've flown that canyon before, back in A-10, training run. I know its currents, how the wind bends around the rocks. I can get in there. The room went quiet, except for a drone operator muttering. She's nuts, that place eats planes. But Sarah wasn't listening, she was already moving, her boots kicking up dust as she headed for the hangar. Let's rewind a bit, because you don't get a call sign like Maverick by playing it safe. Sarah grew up in a nowhere town in Montana. No silver spoon, no military pedigree, just a kid who'd stare at the sky and wonder what it felt like to own it. She earned her wings at Vance Air Force Base, where instructors called her too reserved, like her quiet was a flaw. But Sarah wasn't quiet because she was unsure. She was listening to the engines, the wind, the way a plane talks if you know how to hear it. Her first solo in AT-38 Talon, she flew through a crosswind that sent others spinning, landing clean while her instructor scribbled, "She's got instincts, watch her." By the time she got her hands on an A-10, it was like the plane was an extension of her. Clunky, stubborn, built to take a beating. Sound familiar? She didn't fight the warthog's weight. She leaned into it, made it dance. During a training op in Nevada, a freak storm rolled in, grounding everyone else. Sarah? She flew below the clouds, threading valleys like a needle through silk, guiding two lost pilots back. That's when they started calling her Maverick, not for showboating, but for doing what others wouldn't. Back to Redstone Canyon. The hangar was chaos, ground crew scrambling, loading 30mm rounds into the Iron Horse's GAU-8 cannon, checking flares, fuel, everything. A young mechanic, Jenkins, ran up as Sarah zipped her gloves, handing her a patch. A black coyote howling at a red moon. Maverick stitched in silver. "We know who you are, ma'am," he said, grinning. "Heard about you from the Kandahar run." That was years back, her first combat mission, when she brought a shot up, 10 home with no hydraulics and a wing looking like Swiss cheese, saving a pinned-down infantry unit. She nodded, tucked the patch in her sleeve, and climbed into the cockpit. It was her sanctuary, dials glowing, switches familiar as her own heartbeat. She radioed, "Talon Control, Maverick 1, requesting immediate takeoff, Vector 19. The tower didn't hesitate. "Cleared, Maverick 1. "Godspeed." The Iron Horse roared off the runway, and the whole airfield seemed to hold its breath. A tech whispered, "She's heading into the Viper's Jaw. Nobody comes back from that." But Sarah wasn't thinking about coming back. She was thinking about 12 lives, one shot, no margin for error. The canyon loomed ahead, its walls closing in like a trap. She dropped low 150 feet, then 120, then 90, riding air currents like a surfer on a rogue wave. The radio faded to static, the world shrinking to just her, the plane, and the rocks. Redstone wasn't just a canyon. It was a beast, crosswinds slamming her wings, heat rising off the desert floor. Cliffs so close she could see the striations in the stone. Her altimeter flickered, proximity alarms screamed, but she shut them out. She flew by feel, hands steady, heart pounding but not racing. She knew Delta 4 was somewhere ahead, near a dry riverbed, surrounded by enemy fighters. Taliban mercenaries. Didn't matter who held the ridges with RPGs and manpads, waiting to pick off anything that moved. Then, a voice broke through. Maverick, this is Echo Delta 4. We're taking fire, northeast ridge, can't move. RPGs everywhere. Need cover now. Sarah didn't hesitate. She banked hard, wingtip 15 feet from the canyon wall, and lined up on the ridge. Muzzle flashes lit up the cliffs, dozens of them, like fireflies from hell. She flipped the cannon switch, squeezed the trigger, and the GAU-8 roared, a sound like the earth itself was tearing open. Bullets shredded bunkers, sandbags, everything. The lead RPG team vanished before they could fire. A second group bolted, but Sarah walked the fire across their line, precise, relentless. Splash, northeast ridge, she radioed, voice calm as if she'd just ordered coffee. A faint cheer crackled through. We see you, Maverick. Holy shit. We see you. But it wasn't over. Two enemy trucks, technicals with mounted guns, rumbled along a ridge trail, aiming to cut off Delta 4's escape. Sarah dove again, treetops brushing her plane's belly, and fired. The first truck exploded in a fireball. The second slammed into a rock, gone. The canyon went quiet, just the hum of her engines and her own breathing. Then command broke in. Maverick, enemy reinforcements moving in from the east, 2 minutes out. Delta 4's heading to the LZ, needs 5 minutes of cover. Can you hold? Her fuel gauge was red, flares half gone. Left wing shaking from a hit she hadn't even noticed. But she didn't pause. Affirmative, I'll hold the line. The eastern ridge was a nightmare, jagged, shadowed, crawling with fighters. Sarah dropped to 80 feet, the lowest she'd ever flown in combat. Her sensors flickered, useless now. She was flying by instinct, weaving through the canyon like a hawk through a forest. Delta 4's voice came again. We're exposed, South Bank. They're closing in. She spotted the enemy fighters on the south ridge, RPGs ready. She dove, the Iron Horse screaming, and fired. The ridge erupted, dust rising like a curtain. The enemy scattered, but her plane took a hit, hydraulics failing, engine coughing. Warning lights burned steady now, not even blinking. She wrestled the controls, compensating by hand, jaw tight. South ridge clear, she called, voice strained but steady. Then the real threat came. A heat-seeking missile launched from the east, streaking toward a Chinook, lifting Delta 4 to safety. No flares left, no time to think. Sarah did the unthinkable. She dove between the missile and the chopper, her jet wash throwing the rocket off course. It exploded harmlessly in the air. The Chinook pilot's voice cracked over the radio. Maverick, you just blocked a damn missile with your plane. She didn't answer, already banking for one last pass to keep the skies clear. From the Chinook, Delta 4 watched Hera battered A-10, wings scarred, engine smoking, dancing with death like it was a partner she knew by heart. One SEAL muttered, "Who the hell is that?" Their leader just said, "That's Maverick." You don't ask, you thank her. The Iron Horse landed like a wounded beast, skidding, sparking, one tire blown, no brakes. Sarah held it together, barely, rolling to a stop as steam hissed from the engines. She climbed out, helmet in hand, flight suit torn, standing tall despite the exhaustion in her eyes. The ground crew stared, speechless. A mechanic muttered, "That plane shouldn't be here. She shouldn't be here." But she was. The debrief was a mess. Colonel Grayson backed her, but a Pentagon suit on the video feed wasn't happy. She broke every rule, risked $1 million asset. Grayson shot back, and saved 12 men who'd be dead otherwise. Sarah stayed quiet, letting the data speak. 70 feet altitude, 3 enemy positions neutralized, 1 missile intercepted. No manual taught that. The story leaked fast. A SEAL's helmet cam caught her A-10 screaming past, cannon blazing, and it hit the internet like wildfire. Forums called it the Maverick Maneuver. Cadets started whispering about the Redstone Line. The Air Force grounded her for a month procedure, they said, but couldn't keep her down. They quietly made her a tactical instructor, gave her a squadron to train, real planes, real terrain. She didn't teach them to break rules. She taught them to trust their gut, to hear the wind, to know when safety's just another word for giving up. Years later, at a flight school lecture, a cadet asked, "Major Walsh, Why'd you fly so low that day? She looked out the window, the desert stretching endless beyond the glass, and said, They told me it couldn't be done, but I knew those guys weren't done fighting. Sometimes, when the world says no, you gotta be the one to say yes and mean it. That canyon still bears her mark, a gouge in the rock where her wingtip grazed, a scar that says one woman, one plane, can rewrite the rules of a fight. But here's the thing. Was she a hero for saving those men, or a renegade for breaking every rule to do it? That's for you to decide. Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Where's the line between courage and recklessness? And if you've got a story about someone who broke the rules to do what's right, share it. Hit that subscribe button, because this channel's about the people who don't just fight, they change the game.